honored to be one of a very few CEOs that is women in the world. I am positive I would not be here if it was not for incredible people who saw me, saw my potential, and were able to mentor and to coach and to provide me with incredible opportunities. And really, to me, what they have done is to amplify the power of a high potential woman. And so that is why we're going to talk about that. And each of us has a role, whether we are a woman, a boss, a manager, a peer, a parent, to help amplify women at all levels and all generations. So today's talk is focusing on that. Now, it is interesting. While we have had advancements in politics, women in politics, and women in films and superheroes like Wonder Woman, in business, the numbers have not significantly changed in over 15 years. The percentage of women in the workforce in the United States is 53%. I understand the percentage of women in the workforce in China is 64%. Yet in the US, when you go up the executive suite, you can see that the numbers are diminishing every single step of the way. And the numbers of executives in China and VP in China is even lower than there is in the United States. Now, I will focus on the top, women CEOs. Women CEOs are a lot like a shark attack. When we think of shark attacks, they get so much publicity that you think that they occur far more frequently than they do. The reality is there are very few women CEOs, and in the Fortune 500, there's only 6.6%. There are more CEOs in the Fortune 500 who have the name of James or Jim than there are all the women CEOs. I think that's amazing. So today, we're going to talk a bit about, all of us are going to talk about how this is not an issue for women. This is not a social issue. This is not just the right thing to do as organizations, as we promote women at all levels. This is truly a business issue because the financial data is absolutely compelling and indisputable. The more women that you have in leadership in organizations, the higher performing that organization is. We have the data can come from the World Economic Forum, Accenture, McKinsey, they all show the same thing. This data happens to be from DDI's seminal leadership study called the Global Leadership Forecast. We've looked at 2,500 organizations. And interesting, you can see that the top performing financial organizations have 2 times as many women leaders as those that are in the bottom performing. And what I really like about our study, and the reason I want to highlight it, is we also look at what are some of the key differences you get when you have a higher percentage of women in leadership. And what we have found that when you have greater percentage of women, over 30% is the best, you are more likely to have a strong growth culture, a culture where you are focusing on driving for results for the organization, a culture where you have synergies across departments, across people, across continents, and a culture where you have greater collaboration, and that is innovation and opportunity. So this is some of the case that you should be able to take back to your organizations about why you want to have more women. Now, it's interesting because we all come with a set of assumptions and biases. And so one of those is about the percentage of what is right and wrong for diversity. So let me ask you a question. If this is an executive team, do you see that? All those executives? The question to you is that executive team gender diverse? Yes or no? What is your answer? You can yell it. No. Well, I think that was 100% of this group said no. However, when McKinsey and Lean In did the study, they asked 64,000 leaders around the world. And half of the men said, yes, this is gender diverse. A quarter of the women, with only one woman on the executive team. So the assumptions of what gender diversity really is not representative of the population in the workforce, the population overall, or what we know really makes for diversity. How could that possibly be gender diverse? One of the reasons why people say quite often that we do not have as many women at the top is because women and men have different skills. They bring different attributes with them into the workforce. And we're going to talk about that, the panelists, and the difference in skills. Now, one of the things that we do as an HR consultancy is companies give us their top candidates, their top talent, and we can help them pick and predict the best leader for them to run a business unit, whether it is a sales leader, an operational leader, or a CEO. We put them through rigorous, in-depth assessment, and we are able to evaluate them and know which one really is the best, because we can tell the difference between candidates. So we have looked at all of our data for the past 10 years, 15,000 leaders from around the globe, and we truly do have some differences. What you can see here is the analysis by industry. There are differences in industry, and we're going to look at just one competency, the cultivating networks. You can see that in the networking skill, that there is a difference in that finance and in retail are very strong in this skill, but manufacturing, heavy manufacturing, not so strong. So I think that makes intuitive sense, that you have some industries where you have strengths and competencies and people are drawn towards those, or we have incubated them. So the question now is, to what extent does that apply to the difference between men and women? So what are the skills that women are better at and men are better at? So I've done webinars and women tend to be better at these skills. Men, negotiation, strategy, delegating. These are the common answers. The question is, do we see that when we take a look at emerging executives inside of organizations and we evaluate them, are they really a difference in strengths between men and women? And the answer is